Hey there! Welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting and other crafts. I'm Nicole and this is episode 11. Although I say that this YouTube channel is about knitting and other crafts, it's basically a knitting channel. It's just knitting. I definitely dabble in other crafts and wish that I sewed more and these things, but I mainly just knit right now. And yeah, that's pretty much all that's happening. So I'm located in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. It's so beautiful and really love living out here. And I live here with my husband Kyle, who is also a knitter, and my 4-year-old Matilda, who knits. She has these like big thick plastic glitter knitting needles that she likes to wrap yarn around. And I have started teaching her a little bit. Like, she knows where to stick the needle and she can wrap the yarn around. She's just not sliding the stitch off yet fully. So I look forward to the day that she wants to knit with me. I mean, maybe she won't, but I would love it if she did. Anyway, if you're new here, thank you so much for taking the time to check the channel out. And if you're returning, thank you so much. I am so grateful for the community. Honestly, I have been thinking about like who I've been communicating with a lot, like over my sabbatical, which is, I'm a math education professor and I'm on sabbatical this year. And I have made internet friends because of this YouTube channel and because of Instagram. And I have been communicating with them like more than some of my like work friends. And I don't know why I'm sharing that. I guess I'm just saying I'm thankful to have like friends outside of academics as well. And in this like knitting community, it's been really fun to have people with this shared interest to become friends with. So let's hop into some housekeeping things. First is I would like to do a giveaway. So last episode, I said I had these stitch markers from my friend Kelly's store, Mouton Rouge Knittery, which is in Illinois. I got to visit there over winter break and I bought these. And I said I was gonna give away one and then keep one because they're cute dinosaurs. But I decided I'm just gonna give away both. And I'm gonna announce those two winners. I think the reason why I decided to give away both is I was like, I am so blessed by this community, like, and I like need to keep one of these when I have so many stitch markers or progress keepers. It's ridiculous. I need to share the love. So the two winners are Janet Roberson and Debbie Flaxman. And so I think there was like 32 comments on the last episode, and I just did a random number generator for two times. And so Janet and Debbie, if you email me at profpurlpodcast@gmail.com and send me your address, I will mail these to you. That reminds me, I am also on Instagram and on Ravelry as Prof Purl. There's a Ravelry group for this podcast, and that's it pretty much. I would love to connect with you in any of those spaces. Okay, so the other housekeeping items, some things coming up. So there's a Books and Berets Makealong kind of happening on this channel where you can make a beret and read any book. And if you post it in the Dish Object thread of Ravelry, or you make a post on Instagram with the hashtag Books and Berets Makealong, you can be entered in for some prizes. There's only 2 prizes. One prize is a $25 gift card to Shelbey in the bookstore, And then the other prize is a Clinton Hill kit, cashmere kit to make a beret. And I think those are both really nice prizes. And so that's going on, but it concludes on February 20th. And today I'm recording this on the 8th. It'll probably be up, this episode, on February 10th or so. I'm thinking that that's still plenty of time if you're just hearing about this, because you can knit a beret kind of quickly and you can read a book kind of quickly too. Or if you're already reading a book, you could finish it, or just read and not finish your book. But anyway, so there's still time. There's still plenty of time to participate, really. And when that concludes on February 21st at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, there will be a Zoom book discussion about the book Real Men Knit. And even if you haven't read that book, I would love for you to come to the Zoom session, just so we could do some introductions at first, and we could wear our berets and maybe like take a little picture together. And you could stay around for the book discussion or leave. It's up to you, but I think it would be fun for us to get together on Zoom. And Shelbey from Shelbey in the Bookstore will be leading the book discussion. And I am not quite done with the book yet. I'm almost done, but it's spicy. The book is spicier than I normally read, but I am excited to talk about it because I really do, I do like the characters. And okay, and the last housekeeping thing is, last episode I suggested the idea of having a Zoom called Sweater Show and Share, where we would get together and kind of share a sweater we've made or a sweater we're working on, and I would record it on Zoom and then stop recording it, and then we could have just like a knit night and talk. And with the Sweater Show and Share, I would make a video for the channel. And so people have responded, and it's obviously possible to meet everybody's needs. And what I would love to do is maybe do more than one of these, so that I could like vary the time and day so that more people can be included in it. But I went on the majority of votes for things, and so most people that wanted to participate wanted it during the week, which actually surprised me. I was thinking the weekend would be more popular, but really only a couple people wanted it on the weekend. And then people wanted it in the evening, which I feel kind of terrible about, because I know that some people, like, their family time is super important and evening is like when that happens. But I just went with the majority. So I scheduled it for Thursday, February 17th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Basically, what that will be a Zoom where we do our Sweater Show and Share. And if you've filled out the form, I will email you. If you haven't filled out the form, you can send me an email, profpurl.podcast@gmail.com, and be included on the Sweater Show and Share still, because this video will post before. And I'm really excited to meet some of you and to show and share. So the inspiration behind Sweater Show and Share was my daughter Matilda. Her favorite day of the week is Fridays, because it is show and share at her preschool, and she brings a toy from home and shares it. And so I thought this could be more of an adult show and share where we show our sweaters. So on that note, I think I will show and share my sweater today, which is you probably recognize this pattern. It is a Soldotna crop by Caitlin Hunter from Boylan Knits. And I knit it out of Stitch Together Studio yarn, which the pattern calls for DK, so this is DK. And it's very vibrant. It's looking vibrant on the screen right now, and it is in person. I don't remember the colorway names, but I think this hot pink was called like Lip Smacker or Lip Smack or something, and it is just I love it. And it was a joy to knit. I think I knit this sweater in 2 weeks, which I know some people, can knit a sweater in 2 weeks. But for me, that was just so fast because I loved it. And I'm gonna stand up so you can see the closeness of these. I think they're called maybe fleece stitches or something. And I wear like for today I wore it with a long kind of button up. So I've knit this sweater 2.5 times. So I've knit one for me out of this size, and then I don't remember which size of hers I did, because I can't remember if it was medium or number 2 or 3 or something like this. Like I knit this in one size, whatever it was. And then I knit a second one in Christmas colors, a size bigger, just for a different look. This still has quite a bit of positive ease. I mean, I was looking today, I think it has about 6 inches of positive ease, and I really like that. And I style this in a lot of different ways. I will wear it without a shirt underneath it, with a skirt. I will wear it without a shirt underneath it, with jeans. I'll wear it with shirts underneath it. So I know that not everybody is like really into short sleeve sweaters, but for the climate that I live in the Pacific Northwest, I love them because they can be layered, and I can actually wear them nearly the entire year because like it does get really hot in the summer, but sometimes indoors and things. I don't know, I was looking at some pictures on my phone recently, and I was still wearing short sleeve sweaters in June last year. So, I mean, I nearly can wear them the entire year. So that makes me want to make them. And they're kind of like a vest, so it's kind of fun. Anyway, so I've made this one and a Christmas one, and I'm making one for my mom, or I was gonna make it for Christmas, and I missed that mark, so she'll get it sometime, but I'm about halfway through. I'm to the body on it, and hers is right in a different way, and I've shown it on another episode, and I'm sure you'll see it again. So anyway, super fun, and that's what I imagine Sweater Show and Share going, like us just talking about a sweater we've made or we're making. And I can't wait. Can't wait to meet some of you and have that. So before I hop into finished objects, I just want to let everybody know that I make detailed show notes. And so if you hit the bar on the channel here in the description box, I will have a list, their patterns, links to things, basically everything I talk about, I will provide a link for. And so that should help. All right, so I said finished objects, but what I really mean is finished object. There's one FO for this podcast. I bet even with one finished object, this still ends up being a really long podcast. So, surprise, surprise. If you watched the last episode or you've been following my Instagram feed, you'll know I'm kind of into berets right now. So I made another beret. And this beret, the pattern is Best Beret by James N. Watts. And the yarn I knit out of is a Worcester weight yarn, apple fibers, and the colorway is this vibrant blue, tonal blue, that is from a yarn crawl that was called Have a Ball Yarn Crawl or something. And so the colorway was called Have a Ball Yarn Crawl. And the pattern from James and Watts, it comes in 2 different silhouettes, a dramatic silhouette and a classic silhouette. And so I knit the classic silhouette. It has this I-cord cast on, which I think gives it a very classic beret look. If you watched the last episode, you'll see I've knit this pattern before and I did modifications to the pattern last episode. This one's no modifications at all. And so the increases are done in a way that you can't really see them, which is very reminiscent of a traditional felted beret, which I think is fun. This is a gift, so I feel kind of bad putting it on, but also I want to show you how cute it is. So there we go. And even though it's a classic style, like this has got some slouch. And I mean, I didn't check to see if I got gauge. I'm a very loose knitter, so whatever the suggestion is, I usually size down 2 needles because, yeah. And so this is 2 needle sizes smaller than what's suggested in the pattern. But I bet I probably even got still looser gauge than what's suggested because that's just, I'm a loose knitter. Okay, this is so good. Looks really nice with my sweater. But this is not for me. This beret is going to be for Maddie for the We Share Needles podcast. I really wanted to make her a beret because she said that she wasn't sure if she could wear a beret, and I wanted to show her she could. And this blue, I feel like, is her color. So I actually finished this a while ago and I should have mailed it, but I don't know if you're like this at all. Are there, like, let me know, are there places that you'll just procrastinate going to? That's me in the post office. The lines at our post office are just super long. Yesterday I stopped at the post office just to get boxes to mail some things, and I had to wait in line just to get boxes. Like, I don't like the post office. Anyway, so I haven't mailed it yet. But today's the day. I've got the box. And so I thought, this is me procrastinating too, is I could have gone to the post office this morning, and I thought, no, I need to show this beret on the podcast. And really, I just wanted to avoid going to the post office, I think. Anyway. That's my one finished object. Okay, so now I have 4 whips. Well, in reality, I have more whips than 4 whips. These are the 4 things that I have been working on since the last episode. Okay, I cast on another beret for myself. I actually thought I would be done with it by today just because I really enjoyed it, but then you'll see why. Okay, so it's hard to tell, but this is a Clinton Hill Cashmere color. I think it's called YOLO. I don't know. But it's very bright yellow and super soft, just like my other, I've knit another Clinton Hill Cashmere beret. The pattern is the Jacqueline Beret. It's kind of squished up on my needle, so it's hard to show. And I'm keeping it in this Clinton Hill Cashmere bag. I think that's, part of the reason why I haven't been in a rush to finish this, is just knitting it here and there, enjoying how soft it is, enjoying the bag. I would maybe like to have it done by the end of this month for the roasty yarn crawl. I thought it would be fun to have a bright yellow beret if you're going to that. And this will be my 4th beret. When I started the Books and Beret Makealong, honestly, my goal was like 1, maybe 2 berets if I was lucky. I was not expecting to make 4 berets, and I'm not done yet. Like, I have other beret plans, and I didn't know I was going to enjoy it so much. So I'm really loving that. It's just soft and delicious yarn. And this yarn. So this yarn and the Jacqueline Beret pattern, like that's the kit, that's the prize for the Books and Berets Makealong. So I just really encourage you to enter. There's still time. Okay. The other thing I worked on, I have been showing so much. I did Vlogmas in December. I showed it there. I showed it last episode. This is a long-term project for me that I will just be showing as I make progress on it. And that is, I worked on my Rad Vent cardigan. I have half of it completed. This is one half of the sweater. And I'm working on the second half of the sweater. And at the end of last podcast, I put a progress keeper in. This one is a little glass peppermint candy. I got it in my advent from the Bitten Mitten. Super cute. So I put that in just so I could see what progress I made since last time I recorded. And it looks like I got 2 stripes done, this one, and I started a 3rd one. So I mean, I didn't make a lot of progress, but I did work on it. And that's the goal here, is just to keep going. And I'm using my Stress Knits Advent, so this is the color I'm on now. It's called Wink. It's so cute. This color here was called Morning Ritual. And then this one is Whimsy. This one's out of my comfort zone, but I think it's fun to do something out of your comfort zone when you're kind of knitting this very unique stripy sweater. And yeah, I am just loving this. I'm loving making a scrappy sweater so much that I keep thinking about other scrappy sweaters I want to make, which I mentioned the last podcast. Because there's just so many leftovers. Like, just so many. Like, this is just a little handful of some of my leftovers. And I have another advent, and I'm just from the Bitten Mitten that I haven't even started yet. And I just want to knit lots of scrappy sweaters, so many ideas. And that makes me feel like for the next knit along, I thought it might be fun to do a scrappy sweater knit along, like in a long-term capacity, like something that like whips are allowed in, something that lasts for months, something that there's like, the goal isn't to like finish and say I got this scrappy sweater, but the goal is just to do it together and enjoy that process, and maybe have some Zoom knit nights and stuff around scrappy sweaters where like the Zooms would be to work on our scrappy sweaters together. Because I know like I want to knit a V-back tee one, I want to knit a sea glass tee, and I want to make all the scrappy sweaters. And I think I see people like this with scrappy blankets, and I'm not much of a blanket maker, but like that kind of idea towards sweaters that create these really unique, beautiful, almost like art, they feel like artwork to me, pieces. I'm just really excited about. So please comment below and let me know if you would be interested in a scrappy sweater knit along. And if you would be interested, I'd just love to know if you'd like it, like how many months or how long you'd like it to go for. Would you be interested in like kind of regularly scheduled Zoom like knit nights for it? Just would love to know kind of your thoughts around that. And if you are already making a scrappy sweater, could you participate? Or if you're interested in starting a scrappy sweater, let me know. So, okay, still working on that slowly and dreaming. Okay, then the other whip I did show last week as well, but I have made some progress on, which is my first DK sock. I know that people have been into DK socks for a while now. I haven't made one yet. And with all the extra reading I've been doing lately, I've been feeling cozy. Like I wanted something cozy to wear and cozy to knit. And so I started fingering weight and mohair held together to make a DK weight sock. So it's like the ultimate fuzzy sock. And then I wanted it textured. And so this is what I made. And it looks kind of small on the screen, I guess. But that's because it's really stretchy, which is what I wanted. And maybe you can't see in the screen, but the yarn that I'm holding it, the mohair with, is a sparkle yarn. So yeah, I'm holding this mohair with this sparkle yarn. And I finished one of the socks. And I probably would have finished this whole pair if I didn't start my next whip, which I will show you, but I just love it. And I am the kind of person that loves those, like, I don't know if you've seen these socks. They're like these really fuzzy socks you can buy at like the grocery store or like a drugstore, and they're fuzzy and sometimes they're aloe infused. I love to wear those and like be around the house and watch a movie or be knitting and reading. And so this is like my like nicer version of that. Like they're super fuzzy and I just feel like they're the perfect sit on my couch and cuddle up with a book sock. Maybe I'll wear them outside. I know that some people have to buy special shoes for their hand knit socks or have like special shoes set aside, but I mostly wear clogs and like sneakers. So like my shoes like in Birkenstocks. So like my socks fit, and all my hand knit socks, even probably thick ones like this, will fit just fine in all my shoes. So I probably won't wear these outside. So when I knit it with a really tall cuff. And one of the reasons why I like really tall cuffs on my socks is because I wear my socks more than one day. Also, I would love for you to comment below it and tell me if you wear your socks for more than one day. And when you wear hand knit socks for more than one day, they start to get really kind of loose. And so if you do like a lot of ribbing or make a tall rib, it like they stay a little bit tighter for longer. I did a poll on Instagram, like, do you wear your socks more than one day? And I guess I was surprised like that a lot of people don't. And so I also did a poll on Instagram and asked if people have knit a mohair sock, and I think like 115 people responded, and only 3 people of the 115 had knit a mohair sock. So that was really interesting to me. So I just think it's super fun. Oh, and one last thing. I guess I have 2 last things about it. I did start the second sock because I'm doing the Fieber challenge on Instagram, which is basically a challenge that gives you a prompt every day to make a post on Instagram. And one of the challenges was Olympic cast on. The other thing I wanted to share is sort of my ribbing lows, I guess. Okay, so I have this really cool pattern going and texture, and the ribbing does not line up with it perfectly symmetrical. So what I did on the second sock is I played with it. So it could line up if I did a 1x1 rib. But then I just love the look of the 2x2 ribbing. And then I have this like little pro bump here that I thought was fun. And so I didn't like the 1x1. So then I thought, okay, what I'll do is I'll do a 3x1 ribbing. And I was listening to a podcast where somebody did a 3x1. I wish I could remember what podcast it was now, but they did a 3x1 on their DK sock, and I thought, okay, maybe it was Meanwhile at the Castle. Anyway, and they did a 3x1. And so if I did 3x1, then this would be centered in the middle of it. So I tried that, but then it didn't like cinch in as much, the sock. And like what I love about a tall ribbing is that it kind of sucks in my sock. So anyway, ultimately I ended up going back to the 2x2 rib with this texture pattern. And so I guess what I'm asking you is, would that bother you? Like let me know as a sock knitter, would that bother you that this little line here isn't perfectly symmetric within that? Or am I being like too picky? Anyway, so there's my beautiful fuzzy sock. Okay. And my last whip from the last 2 weeks is a test knit. And it's my very first test knit sweater. I've test knit a few times now. I've never test knit a sweater, and I was feeling really intimidated about test knitting a sweater. And I was chatting with Valerie, who I've met on Instagram, and I'll put her handle here. And she was giving me some really good advice, like work on it all the time, which means that all these whips I showed, I might not show the next podcast. I might only work on this test knit sweater for like the next 2 weeks and nothing else. And she was saying to like take lots of notes and things, and it was just really helpful. So if you've tested a sweater, please give me all the advice. I'm here for it. And I've always been intimidated about testing a sweater, but I had to apply for testing this sweater. This sweater is the Souffle Tee by Penrose Knits. Here's some images of it. Hopefully I will pop in a picture of Laura from her Instagram wearing the Souffle Tee. I follow Laura on her podcast, The Knitting Pickle, and follow her on Instagram. And this sweater, since the moment I saw it, like I felt like it was like my sweater, like a sweater for me. It's obviously for everybody, but I felt like it was for me. Like it is everything. Mohair. I've knit a sweater that's like combination of textures of mohair single with mohair held with something else to make a different texture at the diaphanous raglan, and it's my most favorite sweater I've ever made. And the ruffles, like it's everything. I like, yeah, if I was personified as a sweater, like that would be Laura's sweater. The Souffle Tee would be me, I think. It's just, so I had to apply for it, and I had basically assumed I wouldn't get picked. I assumed so many people would apply, and they did, and I just wouldn't get picked. And so I'll show this later in Dream Knitting, I started to make other plans, but I felt like I needed to. And because of that, I didn't even like go out and buy the yarn right away for the test knit because I didn't know if I would be picked or not, but I was. And so it was such a joy. I actually cried. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but it's the truth. I cried. It was such a blessing. That's what it felt like. And yeah, so I think it was Friday, I received the message that I get to test knit this. And so Saturday I went to Knotty Lamb and picked out some yarn for it. This yarn is Murray & Company Wool Goods. And I've seen this brand a lot at Knotty Lamb, but usually like sock sets or sock yarn. And so I don't know, I just had it in my mind that that's what that dyer mostly does, but nope, turns out mohair as well. And I love it. And actually when I went to Knotty Lamb, I was looking at the Biches and Bouches mohair. It's super soft, very solid. And so I imagined doing the Souffle Tee in a solid color. I think that would be a responsible choice. I had it in my head that I was either going to make the Souffle Tee in a black, a hot pink, or a blush pink. Like those were my 3 options. I still think those 3 options are amazing, and I haven't even finished this, and I want to make a second one, like in a very bright or a blush pink now. I just think, yeah, for sure. And solid is going to really show off the texture changes and the ruffle, and so I definitely want to make a solid one. So I was looking at the Biches and Bouche yarn, and my husband and Matilda came with me to Knotty Lamb, and not in the mohair section, but somewhere else, Kyle found 4 of these hanks, and he brought it over to me, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like fuchsias, pinks, and even this lighter color is like a peachy color. And then the name of it is Wine Tasting, and I was just like, I have to do it in this. I have to do it. And I felt very nervous because there's a group where people are sharing their yarn, like the test knitters. And I'm, so far that I know of, the only one who's doing a variegated one. And so that feels risky when you know the pattern is designed to look good in a solid, like it just feels, but also the heart wants what the heart wants. And so purchased this on Saturday night, started to swatch, Sunday finished the swatch. So here I'm holding the mohair double, and that's this fabric here. And then this fabric up here at the top is the mohair single. It was so fascinating to me that whether the mohair was held double or single, it gave the same gauge with the needle. And it's just, I got the same gauge, which is so fascinating to me. It's just that the fabric looks different. And this is gonna be a very unique piece with this yarn. And so I swatched for the first time in my swatching career. I swatched in the round and flat both because of the construction of the sweater. And I did not, normally when I swatch in the round, I cut these so I can block this out so so the fabric's more like what it would be like in the sweater. But I didn't because I was worried, since this is like a hand-dyed yarn and there was only 4 hanks available. It is the correct yardage of the pattern asked for, but I'm just of course nervous, and I want to make sure that I have enough yarn. So I did not cut the back, so that if I was in a situation where I needed to rip this out and use this yarn, I could. So beautiful, beautiful. And so then today's Tuesday, so then yesterday I cast on. And maybe I cast on Sunday night. Anyway, I've been knitting this for a day. And so it's just a little start to it. And I just think it's, so I'm to the part where I'm holding the mohair single. And I'm just loving the way that's looking. One of the things I'm doing is I am alternating the yarns, just because it is variegated, it could pool, and there's nothing wrong with pooling. And I, however, like it a lot when I have a variegated yarn. When I do alternate it, I feel like it kind of breaks some of the pooling up a bit, and I just like the look it gives. So yeah, so I am knitting it single, but basically knitting one round in one color, one round in the other. And the method I'm using for alternating the skeins is what I call the easy alternator, which is like helical knitting in the sense that every other round is a different string of yarn. But it's different from the way a lot of people on YouTube talk about helical knitting, because I'm not changing the beginning of round or slipping stitches. I'm essentially just kind of flipping the yarns back and forth. I'll link that tutorial below if you're interested. But so yeah, and that is what I aim to work on monogamously. And I'm not a monogamous knitter, but I think I need to be, because I need to knit the sweater in 5 weeks as part of the test. And so I'm just going to solely devote all of my knitting time to this, and happily, because it's going to be epic and I'm going to enjoy wearing this so much. One more thing before I move on. I thought I'd share like kind of my woes about sizing. And this happens to me with nearly every single pattern I ever knit. So like this, I've knit in 2 different sizes. This Soldotna, my love note, I've knit in 2 different sizes. And I feel like I was under the same sort of dilemma here, which is, and this happens, it must be like my size, or like let me know if this happens to you with your sweaters. So basically, the sweater pattern says, okay, you should knit this sweater with a recommended of 2 to 4 inches of positive ease. And when that happens to me, I often fit into 2 different sizes. So with the Love Note, whatever the recommended ease was, and with this one, whatever the recommended ease was, so I ended up being able to do multiple sizes. With the souffle tee, the size that I thought that was borderline, like the size 4, which is 40 inches around. So my like bust measurement is a 38.5 inch circumference. So if I knit the size 4, that would only give me 1.5 inches of positive ease. So I should knit the size 5, and so that's what I signed up to test, and that's what I'm knitting. But that's going to give me more than 5 inches. I mean, more than 2 to 4 inches of positive ease. It's probably gonna give me about 6 inches of positive ease, which is more than what's recommended in the pattern. And this, like, I feel like this is always a struggle I have. But I ultimately applied for the size 5, even though that gives me 6 inches of positive ease and is more than what the pattern suggests for positive ease, just because if I have to choose between a sweater that gives me 1.5 inches of positive ease or a sweater that gives me 6 inches of positive ease, I'm always gonna go for the sweater with 6 inches of positive ease. And today I put this on because I think this is about 6 inches of positive ease, and so I was thinking the souffle would fit like this, and that would look really good. So, I mean, of course it'll be different because this is a thicker fabric, like a stiffer fabric, because this is DK stranded. So, I mean, it's like more dense, but I think that'll look really good with the souffle because that'll be a drapier fabric at this. So, I don't know, if you're a sweater knitter, let me know if you struggle with sizing as much as I do, about like often fitting into more than one category and how you make those decisions. I think my fear is I don't ever want something to be too small. And so I often make my sweaters, well, I wouldn't say I make them too big because I've been happy with the fit on all my sweaters, but like pretty much nearly all my sweaters. I don't know, it's probably good just to grapple with these conversations and even have them allowed in this space, because I think that's how we make sure our sweaters fit, which is like one of the goals of knitting. I mean, obviously to enjoy it, but also like sweater knitting is a gift that keeps giving, because you get to enjoy it while you're knitting it and you get to enjoy it later. I follow, I think it's Knitting in Labradors. She has a podcast. I haven't been able to check it out yet, but I follow her on Instagram, and she had a story like poll, and it was like, are you a process knitter or a product knitter? And I kept going back and forth. Like I couldn't not pick, because the process is super important to me. So in that sense, I am a process knitter, but I can't lie, I love the product too. Like I love wearing my sweaters so much. So then that makes me a product knitter, and I just couldn't pick one. And I thought, oh my gosh, isn't that how life is? Like it's so hard to put people in categories as this or that. Sometimes we're all of it. Anyway, I'm being really esoteric right now. I'll stop. For Sip Sip Knit today, I am drinking a oat milk latte. It's a honey and cinnamon oat milk latte from Caravan. My husband Colin and I, at our lunch break today, went out to Caravan to pick up some coffee beans, and he got a pour over and I got a oat milk latte. Caravan is a local roaster to us that has really nice coffee, and yeah, so it's like my favorite drink, an oat milk latte with honey and cinnamon in it. It's so wonderful. It's like delicious, like a cookie. So we'll transition to the Professor Purl's Purl segment, where I share some reflections and connections from my practice of being a professor and also my practice of knitting. So this week, one of the reasons why I did not have as many finished objects to show is because our productivity ebbs and flows. Like maybe we aren't being as productive with knitting, but then we're productive in other areas of our life. Like, for instance, I've done a lot more writing this month than I did in December. And so this particular, like a week ago, I submitted a revise and resubmit article. And for those outside of academia, what that is you will spend time as a professor doing your research, and then you write it up in an article or as a manuscript, and you submit it to a journal, and then it is peer reviewed. In my field, it's blinded, double blinded. So I blind my article, so I remove any citations that have my name in it, and the reviewers are anonymous. I don't know who they are, and they provide feedback. And then a decision's made about the manuscript. Most manuscripts are rejected. The probability of being rejected is higher than being accepted. And if you're lucky, you'll get a revise and resubmit, which is you have all this feedback from the reviewers, and you take it and you apply it to your manuscript and you resubmit it. And so in October, I received a revise and resubmit on an article, and I've been working on it since October. And as I got to kind of like the due date, which was, I think, February 1st, I really was spending a lot more time, like maybe like 4 to 5 hours a day, like wrapping this up. And I really enjoyed this revise and resubmit on this particular manuscript more than other ones, because the feedback really took it to places that I hadn't seen before. Like this manuscript became something that I could have never done on my own. It just, like, I'm the sole author of the manuscript, but like from the feedback from my peers, who I don't know, they were anonymous, but it became this beautiful thing. I have no idea if I'll end up being accepted or not, but I'm really proud of it. And that made me think about test knitting and pattern designers. And I was thinking about how test knitting is sort of like what the reviewers do. So the reviewers will read my manuscript and like give me feedback. And so the test knitters were reading the pattern and we're doing it and we're giving the feedback. And maybe we don't read something quite the way the author or the designer had intended, or maybe we have an idea about the way that something could be written or presented, and it becomes this thing that the designer wrote, but is like better because of the feedback. And I just thought that was a really beautiful thing for my manuscript to become this thing that it hadn't been prior. And while I am not a designer, I have been test knitting now, and it's kind of like being on the other end of it. I've been really enjoying seeing that kind of like how it happens and those iterations of revisions of patterns and things. And so being a pattern designer is much like being a professor, I guess. Isn't it? So let's transition to the next segment, dream knitting. I always have a lot of dream knitting, and I was just talking about scrappy sweaters. So again, don't forget to let me know if you'd be interested in a scrappy sweater knit along. But I was thinking that this month in February is Black History Month in the United States. And so I thought it would be really fun for dream knitting to talk about a pattern designer and a couple dyers that are women of color, and to honor Black History Month in that way. So if I was not selected for the souffle tee, my plan, I had the pattern printed and purchased and printed and the yarn ready to go, was to cast on the Wave of Change jacket by Denise Betteron. Maybe you've seen this. It's a really popular pattern. It is a very boxy cardigan with kind of purl ridges, And I have mentioned it before if you watch my interview from Wild Hand. In October, I was in Pennsylvania and I went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I visited a yarn store, Wild Hand, and I bought a sweater's quantity of this piece fleece, which is called Dove, and it's pink with like little flecks of color, and I don't know, but I actually think about this yarn and this sweater like every day. I don't know if you're like that with sweaters where you just like really can't wait to make something, can't wait to wear something, but I haven't cast it on because it's always been like something like, it was like, okay, December was Advent knitting and like gift knitting, and then I don't know, I just feel like there's been these obstacles. So this was going to be my February cast on, but I'm going to be monogamous around the souffle tea. But I feel like once the souffle tea is done, even though it'll be nearly spring, I do just think that this will be such a versatile piece in my wardrobe because the yarn is like a soft rustic yarn and lightweight, and the jacket is very classic and something I can wear over t-shirts, I can wear as a jacket, not just a sweater. I need it so much. Okay, and the graphics on this pattern for the Wave of Change are just so beautiful, and I just wanted to share like some of what she wrote in her pattern because I think it's really beautiful. She wrote, "I believe every human feels the need to be included and valued. As we transition to a new decade, my hope is that we become a more compassionate community where we focus on our common humanity rather than our differences. Then we can create a space where kindness is the norm and everyone is welcome. In that spirit, this pattern was designed to be gender neutral and size inclusive. No single garment can fit every body, but I have included tips to help you customize the pattern to fit your body. I hope you will feel pride when making and wearing it. In my dreams, this jacket will become an emblem of our collective wish to create a lasting wave of change in the maker community, the fashion industry, and the world." I love it. And yeah, so I'm like, my gift for finishing the test knit is going to be to cast this on. The pattern's ready, the yarn's out. I need this. Okay, Dream Knitting 2, or second and third. So I'm gonna share some dyers yarn who are women of color who I stare at their yarn regularly. I have not purchased yet because I'm like waiting for the right project, but I look at regularly. So the first is United States of Fieber. So I met Teresa at Wild Hand, and she's like one of the nicest people I have met. And in addition to being an incredible fiber artist, like she teaches classes at Vogue Knitting Live, she teaches classes that you can sign up for, they're virtual classes at Wild Hand, like knitting classes and spinning classes, all kinds. Like in addition to that and being a yarn dyer, like she's also a veteran, which is where the name United States of Fiber comes from. And what I will do right now is I will pop up a picture, hopefully, of one of her colorways that I stare at regularly. It's this kind of like pinky, yellowy, like not quite neon, not quite pastel. And I want to do something special with it someday, and I don't know what, but this is the colorway I look at regularly. She also has some mini skeins that are like rainbow, like almost like rainbow flecks. And I think that making a pair of socks like out of that would be so cool. Hopefully I'll put in a picture of that too. So yeah, I would love for you to go check out her Instagram or her classes she offers at Wild Hand or her yarn. Like, it's really inspirational. Okay. The next maker, she's Philia Fiber Co. And her aesthetic is so classic. Like, it just, everything goes together. Like the yarn goes with the grid, goes with the logo, like it just, everything just like goes together so beautifully, and has this very classic feel, which I think is nice. And she's got a lot of like fun bases of yarn that I haven't seen, like bases that have like linen in them. And I think it would be really cool someday to make like a summer top or a spring top out of some of the yarn that she has, since it has like a linen base in it. Anyway, so hopefully I'll pop up some colors of hers that I think are really beautiful. And yes, so that's the dream knitting for today. And the last section is acquisitions. And I keep thinking like, okay, I will have an episode without acquisitions someday. But I did need to make a purchase, which is, I think last episode I showed some yarn that I bought to make a Christina hat, which is a stocking, like a ribbed kind of stocking hat or beanie that has like beads or pearls on it. And I was watching the We Share Needles podcast, and Maddie and Kristen were using it was Maddie was using this needle to do the beading on her hat, and it was called a beetle needle. There we go. It's really thin. Basically, you put the beads on, and it's got like a crochet hook on the other end, and you can do your beading for your hat like really nicely that way. So I was totally influenced and purchased this from the Arkansas Yarn Company website, which is where they purchased it from, which is their local yarn store. And I heard that the Arkansas Yarn Company like does nice packaging, like I heard it, but yesterday my package arrived, and these were like the extras in my beetle needle case. She like sent some other things with it. Like I couldn't handle it. It was too cute. Okay, so first of all, here's her logo. Well, it's two co-owners, I think. Lori and Jessica. And pink, very adorable. And look at this. It's like pink glitter progress keeper that is in the state of Arkansas. I like want to go to Arkansas now. I actually wanted to use this right away on my souffle. So I purposely put in a silver stitch marker for the beginning round, so because it says silver for the progress keeper, so I can put those together. Gotta make sure my knitting jewelry matches. So this came adorable. And then she had a tape measure in there with the logo on it. And a little pin with their logo. And I can't. And a mini skein. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, but it's pink with glitter. And it's like a gold stellina, which I have never actually had a gold stellina glitter. So, too cute. And I know that she has started a monthly like mystery sock set. And I'm thinking to myself, the quality of the packaging on just this beetle needle was like out of this world. I can't even imagine what the mystery sock knit-along set would be like. Like I can't. And the theme of it for the year, it's either for the month or the year, is my favorite things, which I don't know. Anyway, I was really enjoying myself on their website, and looks like they have like a really epic like dye studio too. And anyway, I'm gonna be honest, I've never felt like compelled to go to Arkansas, but like I want to do a trip to Arkansas. I messaged her on Instagram and I was like, I need to go to Arkansas to your store. So it's just, and then when that came in the mail yesterday, like this and all the things, I thought, so interesting how these little tiny thoughts of things can just like really just turn your day around. Like, and I hope to share that love. So I know it's just like a tiny little thing, these, but I hope the 2 winners like feel like what I felt like in the mail, like getting that in the mail today. Like I hope to share that. I was further blessed. So one of the viewers of this podcast, Emily, she emailed me and she said she had some yarn in her stash and made her think of me and asked if I would be interested. Let me show you these two. She sent me the name of the dyer and I forget now. It's somebody that hand paints yarn and then also weaves the yarn into, and I went on their website and they make like stuffed animals, and I did a lot of baby wearing with Matilda when she was a baby. They also make like baby racks and stuff. So I'll make sure to link that below because I can't remember now, but this was the yarn, 2 of the yarns that she sent. So it's soft. And sometimes Selena isn't soft. Like some of like the yarn I'm making my socks out of, it's not soft. And that's okay because like socks don't have to be soft. Like my socks are becoming soft because I'm adding mohair, but like the Selena in it, like it just makes it a little rougher. But this actually feels really soft, and it's a silver Selena. I don't know if it's showing up the glitter, but you see it's purple and pink. And when she sent this, she sent a note that says, "I see love notes in your future," because 2 of these, Help with Mohair, is enough to do an adult love note for myself. And so that would be incredible. I definitely can see this as a love note. I also was thinking, since it's so purpley, with Matilda recently, she's been wearing one of her hand knit sweaters that I made her a lot. Like it's that Anchors cardigan. And that's pretty much, she currently has 3 hand knit sweaters I've made her that fit her well, maybe 4. And she's only wearing this Anchors one because it's the only sweater that I let her pick the yarn out for. And so like lesson learned, like I need to let her pick her own yarn out. And since this is purple, like there's this like category of yarn I feel like now that if I want to make her a sweater, it's going to be like, does it have purple in it? Get it out and let her pick. And so like, I don't know if she'll pick this or not. But if I go to make her another sweater, like this is going to be in the queue of like things I pull out for her to pick from. And if she doesn't pick it, I'll make a love note for myself. But if she does pick it, I can make whatever sweater I'm feeling like for her, because that'll be plenty. I can either hold it together to get DK, or I can hold it single, or I can hold it with mohair. It was super generous and kind. And I'll show the other colorway she sent too. She sent 2 of them, which was super kind. So this is the other one she sent, and it seems to be the same base as the other one, just a different colorway. And I think it's really fun too. So I knit in addition to some love notes, I've knit a ranunculus. I know a lot of people have knit a ranunculus, and I had won some variegated yarn through the Rosie Yarn Crawl a couple years ago, or more than a couple now. And I remember being like, what am I gonna do with this? And if you're feeling, I guess what I'm trying to show is if you're ever feeling like hesitant about, can you knit a variegated yarn with lace or with texture or like as a garment, if you're feeling any kind of hesitation, one of the things that I did because I was hesitant about using a variegated yarn in a garment was I paired some mohair with it, like a solid mohair. And it was so cool because the mohair just changes the fabric so much that it really kind of like toned down the variegation. So I guess I'm saying is like, even though this might seem really wild because it is glitter and it is gray and a blue contrast, like depending on the mohair you paired with it, like if you paired a mohair with it, it could really tame down that fabric a lot, which is a really fun strategy if you like are really feeling a yarn, but you're like unsure about it for a garment. Anyway, so thank you, Emily. It was a delight to get that in the mail. It truly was. And I hope I can share some of that joy on this podcast with you all too in some kind of capacity. So I think that's the knitting content I have for today. And so I will transition to personal things. So if you are not here to listen to the personal things, thank you so much for joining me this far. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. So 2 weeks ago, after the last podcast, that weekend, Kyle, Matilda, and I, we went to Pacific City, which is a city along the Pacific Ocean here in Oregon. The Oregon coast is so beautiful, and yeah, and I love it so much. Kyle and I want to permanently live on the coast. Like, I mean, I need next fall, I'm going to be going back to teaching in person, but I really want to live on the coast though. So when we were in Pacific City, we spent a lot of time on the beach. I actually cast my beret on at the beach, and I brought my cashmere out in the sand. So I mean, like, I actually used this bag as a little beach bag. I threw in a book and some snacks, because when you're on the beach, you should have some snacks when you have a 4-year-old. And then we had like buckets and, you know, shovels and things. And it was just like so sunny and nice. And it was just magical. And at the end of this video, I will include I won't call it a vlog, but I'll include like some video footage that I took at the beach. And we saw some epic tidal pools that had anemones in them, and beautiful anemones. Like, I've seen a lot of green and turquoise anemones on the Oregon coast, but there was like silver and hot pink and just like beautiful anemones, and lots and lots of starfish, like these like purple and orange colors. And I love the starfish, but as much as I love them, Matilda loves them more. And like, it's like, she's just so interested in starfish because of that. And I mean, it's just so wonderful to see all the learning that like nature provides you. Like, because when you're finding starfish, they're eating like the mussels. And so you get to see like how a starfish eats, and you get to see their habitat. It was, I don't know, I'm rambling because it was just so good. Then last weekend, so basically this year of 2022, like Kyle and I haven't like put this out in the world saying that we want to do a hike every weekend, because then if you don't do it, you feel bad. But we've been like trying to do a hike or something like every weekend. And so this weekend we were going to go for a hike, and we had some plans about what hike we were going to do and this and that. And so we were packing up to go for the hike. And Matilda says, I want to see Nora. And no, Nora is one of the polar bears at the Oregon Zoo. Amelia is the other polar bear at the Oregon Zoo. And so we pivoted. So we changed our plans, and we did not go on a hike. We went to the Oregon Zoo, which Matilda often calls a jungle. I don't know why. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking maybe it's because there is so much greenery at the Oregon Zoo. But yeah, I realized I haven't had a conversation with her that it's like not a jungle, and like to talk about what a jungle is. But anyway, it's kind of confusing though, because it's like there are jungle animals like at the zoo, even though you're in Oregon. So anyway, so yeah, we saw the elephants, and we saw tigers and lions, and yeah, I'll pop in some pictures of the lions. Like last time, like lions mostly sleep. Like they spend the majority of their day sleeping. And last time we saw the lions awake, and it was like so epic. And I was like, this is epic. We're never gonna see anything so cool. Well, this time they weren't awake. They weren't like fully sleeping either. And it was just really cool to see them all like cuddled up together and stuff. So that was really fun. And so that's pretty much it. Just really the kind of the same old reading, Legos, going on walks. Nothing too exciting really, but then also at the same time like super exciting. Like I'm realizing, I don't think I've always felt this way, but I'm realizing like my favorite parts of like everyday life are like those things that like we do as a family that are seemingly everyday-ish type of things, but are like so beautiful and wonderful. Like today, Matilda wants to go to the library this afternoon. So after I'm done recording this, like I'm gonna go take her to the library. And that's probably gonna be like one of the best parts of my week. But it's something that's like seemingly like mundane. I think last week I had this moment where it was super sunny out here and Matilda is riding her bike without training wheels. So she's riding like a regular 2-wheel bike. She's 4. She got this bike for her 4th birthday and was immediately able to ride her bike. And so she loves riding her bike. And so Kyle and I have been like, because she is 4, like there's a lot to learn about like stopping and looking both ways and paying attention. You know, you're not just like crashing into something like a tree or hit the park or something like. And so because of that, we have been running behind her. And so last week I decided like we should start working towards like, because it's hard to run after her on a bike. It's like we're training for like a 5K, even though we're like just going on a walk. So last week I decided that like one of us should walk and the other one should ride her bike with her so she can see what it's like to ride a bike alongside one of us. So I was riding my bike and Kyle was running and then Matilda was riding her bike, and I just felt this like incredible amount of gratitude, you know, these like simple pleasures in life, like being able to go on a bike ride with Matilda. Like I just feel like immensely grateful for that. So anyway, I hope this wasn't overly cheesy, all this, but I just wanted to share how I'm feeling. That's what sabbaticals brought me, is just to this place of like being really, really thankful for those like small, big moments, I feel like. And yeah, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to like have that time to reflect on that kind of stuff. I think when I was on sabbatical and I was like teaching and doing research and like I didn't have the break from teaching, I think I would get lost in the busyness of things. Like I would be so busy like trying to get all things done for teaching in addition to my research, in addition to parenting, that I would like miss the time to appreciate those moments. So anyway, I hope you have a great week and thanks for watching. Bye.